Alright, here we go. We got a little bonus footage to show. I had actually lost the footage of installing the resistors and the electrolytic capacitors, but I was able to recover that footage, so here we go. First off, we're going to start with installing all of the resistors. Now the good thing about installing resistors is they're extremely easy. They're not polarized, so you don't have to have them in any particular order or direction whatsoever. You just have to make sure and get the correct value resistor in the spot for that where that resistor goes. So it's a matter of taking the resistors off the paper where we taped it on there earlier, where it's attached to each of the value, and then locating the spot on the PCB that reads that particular value, and all you do is stick it in there. The only way you can make a mistake on a resistor is if you accidentally put it in the wrong location. With the StewMac instructions, not only do they tell you the color code and the value of the resistor, they also have a diagram with an arrow pointing to the exact spot on the PCB where that resistor goes. And then if you take that, look at the actual PCB, you'll see the value written on the PCB for that particular resistor. So very easy. It's just a matter of looking closely at the PCB and making sure not to put it in the wrong location, because the PCB is small, it is very tight. Not the easiest to work with because it is tight. So if you're not paying extremely close attention, you could accidentally put it in the wrong spot without realizing it. Here we go, we're soldering it in there. One thing I like to do is I like to push the resistors down as flush to the body of the PCB as I can, and then push the legs on the back side back, as you can see right there. That way they don't fall out while I'm soldering, because you got to turn the board upside down to solder it from behind. So if you don't fold those legs over like that, they could easily fall out or come just a little bit loose. So I like to take my finger and press down on each capacitor and take my two fingers on my other hand and fold those legs back, as you can see right there on the back side. It holds it right in place while you solder. Again, when you're soldering, just go as quickly as you can on each joint. You don't want the soldering iron to be on the PCB for any longer than possible. When it comes to a soldering iron, I'm using a 40-watt soldering iron, and with PCBs, as small of a tip as you can have on a soldering iron is the best. And now we're populating the electrolytic capacitors. Electrolytic capacitors you have to pay close attention to. They are polarized. They have a positive and a negative. The two legs on the capacitor is an indication of the positive and negative side, and also there's a stripe. So on an electrolytic capacitor, the leg that's longer is going to be the positive, the leg that's shorter is the negative. And there we go.